Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get right to it here because I don't want to waste any time. I have an extremely special guest here today. I'm going to call him John. And you'll be able to see this video later on, Monday or Tuesday or so, and you'll notice something interesting as you see John here. I brought him on because I want you to listen to somebody with true experience when it comes to being in a life or death situation. Now, John, first of all, welcome to the program. Why don't you say hi to everybody, John?
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it very much.
It's a pleasure. And ladies and gentlemen, this is not a joke. This is not hype. This is not a joke. We're doing this for a specific reason. I'll tell you what, John, I had a information sheet on you, and I screwed up. I either lost it or misplaced it. So what I'm going to do is put it back on you. Tell me why you're dressed the way you are. And this is not a joke, everybody. This is serious. I know this individual. I know what's going on. But I want you, John, to tell everybody, you're in this studio right now. We're going to go over a whole bunch of things. But why are you dressed the way you are?
Well, real briefly, Matt, it's because after 30 years in the military and operating as a contractor overseas in several countries around the world, the enemy forces, there's organizations in countries, including America, where contractors and the American veteran are actually under target now. Just recently in Washington, D.C., a highly decorated Marine was just kicked down to the ground out at a McDonald's.
I remember that story. I remember that, yes.
There's been other teammates of mine that have received death threats. And I'm not really concerned about it myself. I say bring it on. But when it involves my family, I'm incognito today more or less to protect them.
Okay, tell me, let's get a history of you to the best of your ability so that people have an idea what experience you have, why are you on the radio talking about this stuff. Give me a basic background without giving anything away that gives your history and experience.
Well, during my 30 years in the military, I spent the last 20 years in special operations. I'm not going to name which branch because I don't play the contest game between SEALs, Green Berets, Rangers, and Rambos. But I've operated direct action missions, counter-narcotics, close air support. I've done several close contact missions in Philippines, Afghanistan, Central Africa, Western Africa, Iraq, several other places that people don't really know about. And each time, at the last minute or at the strangest minute, I've actually become engaged, or during my training of other indigenous forces, I've been engaged. And so through the years, luckily I'm here today, but I have got the experience you're looking for when it comes to close contact and inside shooting scenarios.
Okay, so with that background and history, ladies and gentlemen, this is a great opportunity for me to ask questions and for you to hear how it is for real. Not being in a classroom with somebody who's just got their certificate to train somebody, but somebody who's been there, done that, know what it's like, and has done it multiple times. And I'm always talking about common threads. John here is going to talk about common threads that happen all the time in situations that are live, under duress, life or death situations. So, John, let's do this, because we're only going to get you on here for a short block of time. I got a list of things here that I want to talk about, or we have talked about, but I'll throw it out there and then you can just talk upon it, expand upon it, okay? One of those common threads that is a necessary thing to do is situational awareness. Can you talk about that?
Well, as an operator, we are trained for several years on how to spot the obvious, constantly scanning for avenues of a threat, for avenues of egress, like your exits at gas stations, at restaurants, wherever, things like that. And basically it's just being situationally aware that if something is wrong, or if it looks wrong, smells wrong, feels wrong, it probably is wrong. The hair on your neck starts standing up and you say, okay, what's my next step? Am I going to run, or am I going to move towards the enemy and close the gap, get off the edge?
And you're telling this and you're giving this because of your experience that the common threads show when you see certain things lining up. The hair, your spider senses start tingling. It's just one of those things. This has happened before. I've seen it before. This is how you respond to it, right?
Yeah, it's all about that instinct. If something feels wrong, something's wrong, and you need to pay close attention to what's around you.
I've always told people this. Paranoid is when you don't know. We're not paranoid. We are situational awareness because we know there's a threat. Would you not concur with that statement?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, very good. Let's go to something else here. let's talk, because I talk about this in my classes too, and man, it happens every time, and if you don't know it happens, you're going to get screwed. If you do know how it happens, you know how to correct it. Tunnel vision.
Well, tunnel vision is another symptom of almost like shock. When you get engaged, your body isn't used to that. It's not a natural feeling. And so your body starts going into a sense of shock. And tunnel vision is just one, where you're focused on what's in front of you. You're focused on the threat. And as operators, we're trying to actually do your peripheral scanning. But it takes a second. You have to control your breathing, because when you go into shock, you go into shallow rapid breathing. The blood starts going to your body. Your fingertips start tingling. I kind of get excited about this. Never been on the radio before. But, yeah, the tunnel vision is one thing.
Vision, it's almost like it just blackens out on the sides, and you're just so focused on the threat. You're like, okay, I'm in tunnel vision mode. I got to snap out of it. Because don't you agree that bad guys come in packs?
Oh, absolutely. And because just like a magician, he's attracting all your attention here, but you don't see what's around on your side. So when we're doing vehicle operations, you got guys 360, 2 guys facing back out of the vehicles, 2 guys on the sides. Everybody's scanning. And when one guy takes one threat, then the other guys are scanning, looking forward, and anticipating the next one. So when we're doing combat shooting, or in a real-world scenario, we don't waste a lot of time with that first target that goes down, because we're looking for the second one already. We have to make sure that that first one goes down and stays down. Now, you mentioned earlier about failure to stop drill, where the guy got shot 3 times, but he was still coming.
Right.
When we train, we don't train to shoot paper. We train to actually take that guy down. So we do sometimes a double tap or a triple tap to eliminate the threat and move on. That's an acquired thing. And if you're a weapons owner, it's your responsibility to continuously train so you can actually beat that tunnel vision. You can beat that breathing, your hearing. A lot of times, your buddy can be right next to you, but under fire, you can't hear him. All you hear is the loud popping. You're concentrating on your target, but you can't even hear your buddy saying, hey, he's out of ammo, he needs to be covered. You should automatically feel that, but that comes again with training.
You said something just a second ago that kind of bleeds into this next one. Explain to me the pros and cons of this. Rapid respiration. I'm assuming the rapid respiration is because you need the oxygen, but how can that counter in a negative way?
Well, in a negative way, you could hyperventilate yourself and go down. And so you've got to control your breathing. No matter what you're doing, you've got to take that breath and then get your head back in the game. And it doesn't matter how many firefights a guy's been in or how many scare tabs he has on his shoulder. Everybody is afraid when they go into a gunfight, but you have to control that. You have to control your breathing, your hearing, your pulse rate, because if you get dizzy and you go down, now you've become a liability to everybody around you, including your wife or your family in a house situation.
Now, John, you are familiar with my facilities. You know my shoot house, and you know the special training I do in my shoot house. One of the biggest things, I knew you were there was because people were gasping for air. Because you want to go through, first of all, when you go in there, I want to be quiet, but then you got to control that breathing. Because if you don't control the breathing properly, you start to hold too much, and then you got to start gasping for air. And once you start gasping for air, you start rapid respiration, panting for air. And 1, you're giving up your situation, and 2, basically what you just said there. So, ladies and gentlemen, we do that type of training. We're talking to John here. He's just giving you a life scenario that rapid respiration, hyperventilating, and all this kind of stuff can be detrimental to you. So it would behoove you to get in a situation where you can maximize that potential training. So take one of our courses.
Matt, you're talking about your shoot house, and I love your shoot house, because when you turn that corner, you have thrown in there so many different scenarios that there's no time to actually analyze what's going on. Some people will turn that corner, and they'll be exposed to a certain situation that they pause for like 1 or 2 seconds to figure out what they're going to do. And that's what gets them killed every time at your shoot house. So you have to practice. You have to get in the mindset and mentally rehearse every scenario around you throughout the day. What would I do in this case? So when that happens, you're not going to pause for 2 to 3 seconds. You're going to instinctively know right from wrong, take the shot or not. If you're not going to take the shot, get back behind cover and defuse the scenario. But that's mindset, and that's...
I want to talk about mindset. I have a whole opening segment of my programs on mindset. You're the master of mindset because you're living it, okay? Talk to me more, talk to the listener more about mindset and how absolutely critical it is to mission success.
Well, I believe most people are carrying a weapon for their own protection and their family's protection. It's not just an accessory that you wear because you think it looks cool. When you strap that gun on, a whole buttload of responsibility goes along with that. You have to be the very best you can be. If you go to a doctor, you don't want him to pull out a rusty tool and say, I can just do this or do that. He's constantly training, and in his mind, he's going over, okay, this is what I need to do. So if you're going to be carrying a weapon and you're going into a grocery store, take a second and think, okay, if something goes down, how am I going to employ this weapon? I've got the mindset that I'm carrying it, so I need the mindset that I'm going to use it. And if I use it, somebody's going to be killed, and it's not going to be me or my family. So that goes to lining up your shots. If you have to engage someone, you want to make sure that there's no innocent bystanders behind him. And if you're going to do something, you're assuming that responsibility that he might be shooting towards you. So you also have to make sure that your background is clear, so your teammate, your family, no one else gets hit by your actions.
Don't you have about 5 minutes to decide all this?
5 minutes? No. No, you've got about maybe 3 seconds just to line up and maneuver into the good position to where you can take a shot.
So what you're telling me, John, is this. If a situation goes down in a 7-Eleven and I'm packing heat and I want to do defensive at third person, I've got to analyze the situation, see where the threat is, determine the perception of the threat on how serious it is, locations of people, exits, all this kind of stuff. My ability, my capability to shoot the gun, my mindset with that ability, the adrenaline factor, all these different things go into play, and I've got to do that in how many seconds?
Probably less than 3.
3, wow. That's not much time, is it?
You touched on a good one, the threat level. And because you don't want to be a Johnny wannabe Rambo and pull your weapon out just because you've got one. You have to analyze the threat level and actually see if you're going to make things worse or better by engaging your weapon. So, you're engaging the target by employing the weapon.
Tell me about the reaction. We're kind of talking about this now, but really more specific. Reaction and response time under fire. Not before the fire, under fire. You're being shot. What goes on, man? I've had bullets go past my head, okay? And it's a very eerie feeling. You, my friend, have maximized that situation. Tell us about it.
Well, there's so many more guys out there with more experience and more stories than I do.
There will always be.
Absolutely,
right now,
and I respect them for that. But the first time I was engaged, I pissed my pants, and I had that tunnel vision. I really didn't know what was going on until my squad leader slapped me in the head and said, hey, let's get in the fight. Let's go. And then over the years, it's to the point where, okay, that's the target, and my weapon's already out, and 3 rounds are in the target. So it all depends. But you have to have that training and the mindset that you're actually going to engage.
Weapon familiarization, is that important?
Oh, weapon familiarization, and your round-robin class is excellent about that. There's been a lot of times in Afghanistan and Iraq where perhaps we have to secure weapons from the targets that are down on the ground. We secure that weapon and we take it, or we'll engage with that weapon, because it's already in our hand. You got to know these weapons, and because of your training and the common thread that you refer to, every weapon has its common denominator. And I'm not going to go into details about that.
Well, since you brought it up, let's talk about it. That's an important fact. We've got a couple minutes here. Common thread meaning each gun has its own little bells and whistles. Those bells and whistles on different guns all do the same thing, but they may be designed or placed different. So instead of looking for each individual bell or whistle, if we can find how those things work in general and bypass the looking for each thing and get to the gun and find its little common thread, it gets us up in the game. So instead of studying every gun, we can study the common threads of guns so that if we pick up any gun, it's up and running.
And the weapons operation, absolutely.
Yes. Okay. All right. There was one other thing here you had mentioned. Talk about rehearsals.
Okay, rehearsals.
Rehearsals in cold sweats. We talk about cold sweats.
Well, when you get in a gunfight, again, that's part of the shock value. It's not a natural thing, so you're reacting to it. Your body reacts to it subconsciously, and yeah, you're going to start getting those cold sweats. But you can move past that through proper breathing. Your circulation system and everything starts acting normal again. But you have to have the right mindset and attitude to overcome that, and that comes from rehearsal, mental rehearsal, and visualization. If you know you're going on a long trip, you need to rehearse things with your wife or the other people in your car, because they need to know what you're doing in case of a situation. My wife, she's incredible, because she understands and she supports that things go wrong. If I'm at a traffic stop, there's a car in front of me, and I've gotten a gentleman walking close to me, I see he has a weapon, I want her safely out of the way, so she already knows the crash position to recline her seat and curl over on her left-hand side. Now she's out of the target area, and she knows that I'm going to come up, weapon on chest, I'm ready to pull the target. If I can, I'm going to escape and avoid the whole scenario. But if not, then I'm going to take the target and I'm going to move.
Ladies and gentlemen, the world is not the same place it used to be 10 years ago. Things have gotten worse. It's coming to your front door, your hometown, your neighborhood. If you're not prepared, you're foolish.
Hey, Matt, talking about rehearsal, I'm sorry to interrupt your train of thought.
Yes, sir.
But that's just the car. You got to rehearse movements and actions inside your house, because that's where a lot of the things take place. So find your safe house, find your safe spot. Know that your wife might be calling 911 while you're engaging the target.
The number to 911 is 911, in case you don't know. All right, John, look, I've got to wrap this up real quick because we've got another special guest coming on. But in anything in the last 30 seconds you want to recap, go over, make comment of, anything like that?
Well, very basically, if you're going to carry that weapon, you have to have the mindset to use it responsibly. Responsibly. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to take down the target. That's it.